Are you ready for growth? Oh, taste and see. There's a word for you and me.
Serving the uncompromising truth makes us truly free.
Open your heart, your mind, your soul. He'll make you whole.
Preaching with power.
It's the relevant leadership strategist.
It is Millennial Monday, and we are excited to be right back before you with a group of millennials. It's a panel that we selected, and I think they've been doing a marvelous job, an excellent job. We're going to start kind of bringing in some guest panelists. As a matter of fact, tonight we will have a guest panelist that'll come on a little later. But tonight we have some of our crew who have been with us from the beginning. And so we're going to bring them up to the front and give them a chance to introduce themselves, just in case you were not introduced to them before. Maybe it's your first time tuning in to the show, and so you didn't know them. So, with that being said, let me also kind of give you the premise behind the show. What we do with this particular show, Millennials, Ministry, and Mess, is we give a platform and a voice to millennials so that they will be able to speak to their generation, millennials, as it relates to things in ministry and the mess of their world. And they take the lead with some of the conversations. They'll ask me questions. I'll ask them questions. We'll have certain topics that we'll try to stick to. And man, I think it's just a really, really good opportunity for you, especially if you're a millennial, to hear it as it relates, to hear it from topics from your vantage point, because all of these are right around your age. I am the oldest one that'll be on the panel. And then you'll also get a chance to ask questions if you like. So while we're talking, if you have a question that you'd like for us to tackle, all we ask is that you keep it as clean as possible. There's nothing that's out of bounds. We'll answer whatever we can answer as best we can. And let's roll. So let me bring in our first panelist. She is the creator of, I knew I was going to mess it up. I can't remember now. Naturally Nay, I think is how it is. Natty Nay, Naturally Nay. It's that, right? So it's a podcast that she has. She'll clear it up when she comes up. Naya.
Hi.
How you do, girl?
I'm doing good. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, give me your name and some of the things that you do business-wise and your podcast.
Okay, so my name is Shania. I business-wise, I kind of got into some things recently. Actually, just kind of birthed them. Actually, kind of just pushed them out and just starting with it and everything. The podcast that I have is also alive, and it's actually now LLC'd. Woo woo. And it's basically, I'm trying to find it really fast because I was laughing behind scene when you was trying to say it, but it's actually called Naturally Nay, and it's spelled basically NATU capital REALLY. And
I couldn't say that.
Yeah.
No, you said naturally. I can say naturally, but I'm trying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I was just like, basically kind of looking for the trailer, so to speak. But basically, I'm just gonna give a paraphrase because you guys can kind of follow me on Facebook, or I do have the podcast now on Spotify. And it's just basically where we discussed, or sometimes you guys are able to like listen to or tune in and listen into just real life situations based on my own personal experiences and just emotions and pretty much anything. A non-judgmental essence of freedom of speech and just really real stuff, So yeah.
think non-judgmental thing, that judgment piece, I want to touch that a little later on in our conversation. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And so our next panelist, we look to see what they're gonna do every time we've started this. So they started some kind of trend, and
Yeah.
I keep forgetting to get my wife involved with this, 'cause she and I can beat them, but they have these little shirts and all, they just yeah. So let me bring. I love them though. Chris and Delana,
Hey,
how are you?
We are
good.
great.
Good. Wait a minute. Let me see the shirts y'all got on tonight. I might like these shirts better. Oh, I love it. Yes, Lord. Ay, ay,
Hey,
ay, ay.
Kiana.
Okay, so I won't pick it. I won't pick it that. I won't pick it that. I like.
Well,
Why don't you introduce yourself? Let the people know who you are and maybe some of the endeavors that you have going on.
well, grace and peace to everyone that's watching and everyone that will watch. My name is Chris Pankey. For you who know me personally, you know that I am a faithful attendee at the Sword of Truth Outreach. Well, the Sword of Truth Ministry, not Outreach anymore. And I've been there since I was a teenager. And me and my wife had, you know, she was the one that kind of introduced me to the church. And I met Bishop, and it was, you know, it was all love after that. I was married to the church before I actually got married to her. And I'm a singer, songwriter. I love what I do professionally. I work in law enforcement, but who I am is what I do best, and that is preach the gospel. That is a teacher of God's word. And that is a singer again, and that's it for me.
Well, hello, everyone. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Delana Pankey, and I am the CEO and owner of Lavish Lane LLC. That's a women's boutique. And I am also the author of Tears of a Woman. You can catch that on Amazon. I am also the deficit developer, where I use my transparency to invoke transformation through inspiration. So if you want to follow me, just check out my Facebook, Delane Pankey. That's me.
I so love them. They got their elevator speeches together. I mean, all y'all, Naya, Delana, Chris. I mean, it's just I'm super proud of them with some of the endeavors that they're doing. As Chris kind of allured to, when they all came, they were my like babies, and I sat and watched them kind of grow up into these adult millennial married with children and problems, and I mean I just, and it's amazing to see, and also to kind of watch their development as they're moving forward. All right, so we're going to have a special guest that's going to come and be a part with us a little bit later, which is going to be cool. But up to that point, I want to kind of dive in on a couple of thoughts that I've had, and you all kind of help me with it so that we can go forward. One of the things we touched before, but that I think we kind of need to revisit again, is the whole idea about ministry and millennials. I want to kind of touch that again, ministry and millennials, and it's your thoughts again with why that seems to be the way it is. In some cases, it seems to be difficult that there's just not that many millennials in ministry or coming to ministry or want to come to ministry. And then there's some who just like forget it all and there's nothing about God and they kind of going on their own tangent. Give me your thoughts behind millennials and ministry and their thought with it.
Okay, I'll go first. I believe, my personal belief is just that I think millennials do want church. They want, well, I'll rephrase that. I say they do want God and they want to have a relationship with God. But I think the stigma that's attached with some of the people, or the immaturity that's found in churches, has a negative effect. And I only say that because people who are immature in church, for a millennial that's not churched, if they come into church with their skirt a little too short, people talk. Or if they come in smelling like alcohol or weed, they talk. But a matured Christian would not talk. They would love on that person. They would get them to a place to where they don't come in church smelling like that, or whatever that is they're facing, they're not dealing with anymore. So I think some of those negative stigmas that are attached to immature people in church sometimes run millennials, not just millennials, anybody, but specifically today for this conversation, millennials away. And I think so trying to find a way to, because I feel like the struggle is there, because people are gonna be, you cannot control people, you cannot like monitor everything. But I think trying to attack that in some way can maybe assist with that issue.
So let me ask you, because what you just described, we had to go through that. We endured it as well. When we were young coming up, I mean, it was a lot more strict for us than y'all, period. We couldn't do much of anything. But they would talk about us. I mean, some of us would walk in and have the alcohol and be a topic of discussion. But when that kind of thing happened for us, it didn't drive us away from the church. Like we didn't leave. We couldn't leave. It just seemed like for us, we didn't have a choice, but it seems a bit different with your generation. Why is that?
I think because back then, to be able to access church, or to be able to experience God, there was one main avenue, and that was to actually enter the building. Now you can have your relationship with God outside of church through different, through TV, through the internet. You can experience God from the comfort of your own home, as in, probably during your generation, you had to go to church. Or not that, you couldn't experience God in your house, but I think to be able to, the music, the praise and worship, the word, you can still get that from wherever you are.
We had TV when we were we had televangelists when I was coming up too. Now, don't you?
Well, it wasn't as the experience wasn't this exact same as this. I think it's more. That's just my opinion. I just think it's more. You can still get God. It's not about you have to be in church. Like, even if you don't look at it on TV, like we're okay with just praying, or we're okay with just reading our Bible on our own. Like, I don't know. I just think it's not as we have to go to church. Like, we're okay with not being in the building. That's just my opinion.
I kind of, I guess from my perspective, I feel as if the church, although the people have matured and the people have grown, I think overall the body of Christ, the church overall, has not upgraded along with the generations. So a lot of times, a lot of millennials almost feel like they don't see them in certain churches. So if they're too traditional, if they're, praise the Lord, everybody, every Sunday, if it becomes repetitive, redundant, any type of repetitive nature type of thing, a millennial doesn't necessarily kind of get with it, because we're such in like a innovative, creative type of people. That's just the type of people we are. We're very creative. We have access to everything, and because of that, our minds have upgraded to like, look, I need this to kind of be upgraded as well. I need this to be okay. I want you to say praise the Lord, but can you say it in another way? Because I kind of don't want to. I want to sing that song, and I don't want to kind of like walk down the aisle every Sunday. Can we just choose a Sunday to walk down? And so I think because of that, a lot of my generation just kind of feels as if church is, boring.
Look at that twin.
And if it's not, and at the same time, while at the same time we're feeling like it's boring, we also don't feel like it's enough of, we don't see enough of us, not just the people, but we need to see that creative nature in the church as well. I'm not just talking about more people, but we also need to see the creativity, so that we can kind of feel like we're a part of it. The majority of the times, most millennials don't feel like they belong to a church unless they was actually born into that church. You know what I'm saying? Like if when I grew up, I didn't feel like when I grew up Baptist, and most of you guys that's on this live kind of know how I grew up. But after a while, that became, like I said, it became repetitive, redundant. And I was like, Lord, if you are real, can you speak to me? And God, and he said what he said. And I remember when I told you, Bishop, what the Lord said to me. But that was the first time I had a revelation of Christ, because before then, everything was so boring and so traditional that I didn't want the relationship. Because if God got to be like that, if he got to be old and he got to be rugged, if he got to be boring, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be a part of that, because that's not me. That doesn't fit me. And I think what a lot of churches have done is thrown away some millennials when they should have taken those millennial voices and begin to kind of like, shape the not, we don't shape the message, but we at least shape the image of how we function and how we flow as far as the church is concerned, because those millennials know they're growing up in the world that the people before us didn't necessarily grow up in. And I think a lot of us, I just think a lot of us we just kind of want to feel like we belong something. Like it has, she said it perfect. It has to be relevant to the people that's coming, not just the people that were, you understand? Not just the people that were, but to the people that are coming, and to the people that are there right now. And at this important time, we just gotta, take heed to the fact that it is a millennial generation, a millennial movement right now. And those that come after us, we're gonna have to have the same conversation to be like, well, hey, what do you like it? You get what I'm saying? Like every church, every generation has to begin to have that conversation to bridge the gap that's in the church, and that has been kind of like functioning for so long. And I think the reason why your generation took it how y'all took it is because mainly the people that you're what, Generation X. What are you there?
Yeah, Generation X.
You're Generation X. The people that came around that Generation X era, it was like, look, if you can't change it yourself, then shut up. You had to put something on the table to talk. You get what I'm saying? Like you had to be the person to make the change. So you didn't complain. You didn't say anything until you had an answer. But now with Generation Y, why is this like this? Why do we have to walk into church like that? Why are those lights on? Why are the lights not on? The Generation Y, we got questions. So the generation before us had questions that they didn't ask, and now the generation that asked the question, we're gonna have to, you get what I'm saying? Like we just gotta kind of find a balance to where we can finally connect somewhere, because of the fact that y'all had questions, but y'all didn't ask them. And a lot of them feel as if, well, why don't you just do it how we did it? Stop asking questions and just do something. But we're just in a different way. And I feel like our churches, we gotta upgrade with the people. I mean, even think about it like business wise. I'm talking a lot and I hate to ramble, but just thinking about it like business wise, every business kind of like upgrades every 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like they evolve every 5 years, but then when the church comes, it's like every 10 years or every 15. So I just feel like we have to upgrade, evolve, and develop with the generation. So that's all it is. I'm sorry, y'all. I talked a lot, but that's just that's something that I feel like all of us millennials been wanting to say, hey, listen, I don't see me in that. I just want to be seen in that. I want to be a part of that. And if you don't even try to adhere to my ideas, I don't feel like I belong to it. And so a lot of millennials like, well, I'll just look at you over the internet. So that's how it is. If I'm
Mayor, you got something to add to that?
A little bit. Just kind of piggybacking right off of what Chris said in regards to just feeling like you don't belong. I know for the person that I kind of interact with outside of, you know, my SLT family, there are some people that have said things like, you know, I don't got time for that because, you know, it's too old or it's too this, it's too that. And it's not necessarily our ministry. Let me put that out there real quick because SLT is a different breed, okay? But just in saying, like, I literally have heard, you know, church is too long or I don't have no church clothes kind of thing. But again, putting it out there, SOT is a different breed. So for those who are watching and don't have a church to come to, boom. Okay. So, but I can say this in regards to like the bridging of the gap part. Like, I have been and I have felt, let me put it that way, I have felt before that, you know, coming to church in certain things that may fit a little bit tighter or, you know, even if it doesn't fit tight, you got curves. If you're, you know, a woman of color for the most part has curves. And, you know, before back then it was like, okay, you got to wear your skirt this low, or this, if it's this high, then it's a problem. And a lot of people today, they wear things that necessarily wouldn't be accepted, so to speak. Outside of that, when I was making when Chris made the comment about bridging the gap, because I feel like I'm rambling now too, because I had so much, but he was talking, I was like, dang, I want to say that, I want to say that. But he hit everything on the head. As far as bridging the gap and being accepted, I feel as though, speaking on behalf of things that I felt before, and just speaking on behalf of the generation underneath us, and even for those that are our age and that have not spoken out or don't attend ministry for certain reasons, they feel as though, like you said, they're not accepted. They feel as though they're talked about. They feel as though they're preyed on, P-E-R-Y, other than preyed on, P-R-A-Y, or prayed with or prayed for, P-R-A-Y. It's like they're the topic of someone's, they're the discussion at someone's dinner table in a negative, when it shouldn't be that way. And nobody wants to feel as though okay, let me say this. Everybody has something that they're dealing with. Everybody has had something that they have dealt with. And a lot of times I feel that people forget, and I feel like I sound like Bishop right now, but I feel like a lot of times that people forget where they come from, in the sense of forget, you know, that they did something along those lines, or probably the same thing. They just weren't exposed. Their covering wasn't, their sheet wasn't taken off. So therefore, it's easier for them to point the finger outward and to discuss that millennial or that person that may have done or may have not done what they felt should have been done, and therefore they're shunned. And like Delaney said, they don't feel welcome. They don't feel loved. They don't feel like they can come to. It's kind of like you go to a hospital, and I feel like, again, I'm taking Bishop's words, but it's just like coming this way. It's kind of like you go to a hospital bleeding, and it's like, somebody help me, but the doctor's looking at you like, I ain't touching that. You see all that blood? But this is what you're here for. You're here to help me, but you won't help me. And then on the flip side of that, for us, come into ministry, for the ones who aren't saved yet, that come in, you know, pants hanging, come in, smell like weed, smell like whatever they smell like, you know, and it's like, ooh, you smell that, somebody loud, you know, like, it's that. And it's like, the noses are turned up, and then they may not verbally say it, but their spirit man is crying, and they're like, I'm here for help, but I feel that I'm being judged more so than hugged and loved on. So it's like, okay, if I got to deal with this in church, I might as well stay where I'm at. I might as well keep going to the club. I might as well keep chilling with they say, he say, and whoever, and just be comfortable there. And I think it's really imperative, and it's important that for those of us who have been there and that have engaged to know that it's okay to show scars. People accept help, especially from someone that has been able and willing to show, well, you know what, I did this. It was hard for me. Not to put it out there like, oh, I did this and oh, you shouldn't do that. You know, as if it was such a breeze for them to get through it. And it wasn't, because for everyone, like you said, you kind of made a joke and you said y'all had TV back then. But just like kind of hitting the time frame part of it, like, you know, it's more accessible now, like via phone, via laptops, via just internet, period, to just be like, okay, I can stay home, get the same feel, you know, and be genuine myself and my connection with God, versus then getting that negative vibe, so to speak, of judgment, for lack of better words. Like, because people can feel that. Like, you literally can be, and I'm just speaking again from a little bit of experience before, like you can literally be in a dire place of worship. I don't even know if that's the proper word to use at this point, but you can be in such a place of worship, in such a place of vulnerability, that your spirit is open completely. And if not guarded correctly, that negativity can infiltrate you at that moment that you're trying to have with God. I literally remember a long time ago, and then I'm gonna stop talking. When I was learning about my gifts and when I was learning about being an intercessor, I can remember so clearly, and I don't even think I ever shared this with Bishop, but I remember so clearly that I would be laid out, and this was when Evangelist Gray was with us. I would be laid out there, and I never was the person that liked to be in the forefront, and it was like always she was birthing in her mantle in me, and I didn't understand it initially, and I'm like, dang, I don't want to be at the front dancing. Before I know it, I'm from the back all the way to the front and going here, and before you know it, I'm out. And while I'm out, it's like after a while, I hear initially you don't hear the music go off, you don't hear everything settle down, but after a while, it's like you hear the walls talking or the floor talking, and it's like, she knows she don't got to do all that. She knows she don't have to be down there that long. And I can literally remember hearing some of those things, and in my mind, in my heart, I'm like, God, I don't want to be up here being seen. I don't want to be up here, you know, doing this. I don't want to be up here doing that. And I don't know if it was just me or if I was tripping, but it happened so often, more so, that where I felt like I wasn't tripping. So I just literally was there, and I'm like, at that moment, I would try to prematurely get up. I would try to prematurely make myself get up. As drunk as I was in the spirit, I literally was like, I just don't want to hear that. I don't want that. I don't want that weight of negativity, because the weight of glory is heavy in itself, and that's a beautiful weight. But that negative weight and that feeling like you're doing too much when you're only trying to become who it is that God has for you to become, that's not a good feeling to have. So I just feel like if we can, as Chris said, just find a way to accept change and just build a gap. And also, while accepting change, we have to be mindful as to how we present it as well, because we can come off a little rugged sometimes in our presentation, and that can cause some things to be unheard as well. So that's all.
So I heard a couple of things. It's almost thematic between all three of you, and one of the thematic things I heard was judgmental, or being judged. Then I heard boring. I didn't hear Nair say much about boring, but I heard boring. And then I heard well, those two. The third thing wasn't necessarily thematic, but it was just a third thing that I kind of heard, and I want to touch each one of them. I won't have time to get to all, but I'm gonna try to touch them. First, let me say though, to Chris, he started talking about generations. With Generation X, we were taught a level of honor that surpassed how we felt, what we thought, even if we had questions, because we were taught so deep ingrained in us honor, we weren't going to ask any questions. I mean, because we felt like if we were to ask a question, then we would be dishonoring our leader. And so for us, it was better for us not to even know or ask, as to walk the line of being in a honorable place. Not saying it was right or wrong or whatever. It was just kind of how we were trained. And so we pretty much remained silent, where you guys, you weren't silent at all. I mean, you talked, and we would look back at y'all like why, women now, you talking? But see, I think how it is naturally is also almost how it is spiritually, because we couldn't talk like that to the baby boomer generation. But the baby boomers to us were like fathers and mothers. The baby boomers to you all were like grandma and grandfather. Well, what mama and daddy did to me, when they get grandchildren, they let them off the hook. So it's not as hard on them as it is for now. I would get my face slapped totally off. I mean, teeth. I gotta go pick teeth up after I call myself talking back. But let the younger ones talk back. My mom was kind of like that. You know, the way she kind of raised us, we couldn't say some stuff. I'm listening to some of the grandkids talk to her, and they're like in a dialogue. They're like having a whole conversation. Like before I'd got out 2 words, a shoe would have been thrown, a drop card would have been found. I mean, something. Them kids have a whole dissertation, and they're going back and forth. And I'm sitting there looking like, wait a minute, I got killed. You just let that happen. And I think that's really literally what took place spiritually. That when millennials started speaking, the baby boomers didn't do to you what they did to us. To us, they said, shut up. To you, they may have said hush, but they started listening anyway. And they let you all ramble where we couldn't ramble. And I think that added a little, that made us feel some kind of way. I mean, just putting it out there. We felt some kind of way, because how can you tell us this is how to do it, but then when they do it that way, it becomes okay. And that broke some of the connectivity and those kind of things. And so, although they let y'all do whatever you want, they don't understand it. Now, here's the beauty of being Generation X. We know the honor piece and we know the innovative piece. So we're that bridge between the two. We know how to honor and we know innovation. We know innovation and we know how to honor. And we can pull those 2 things together and make it work if given the opportunity and given the chance. I just needed to say that, say that to you. And so our job is to teach all the honor side. And our job is to teach them the innovative side, so that once that is repaired, Generation Y has it easy, because you all will turn around and pour back into them what was initially not poured into you all. Now let's address the boring piece. I was like, Lord Jesus Christ, boring church, huh? Yeah, I think that sometimes we can get married to methods instead of message. And the method was good for us, but that method isn't good for you. I'm trying to say it slow because I want to make sure I say it right. The message should stay the same. The method is the thing that has to change based upon the palate of those who were trying to win. And so I remember when we started doing Friday Night Fires in Marlboro County, and it was like we were the devil. They thought they could. I mean, the stuff they said about us was ridiculous, but I didn't care because I understood that the message was the same. We kept the message the same. We just changed the method so that those who needed to hear the gospel could come in and be a part of that. Now, the last piece, and I'm trying to truncate mine because I want to hear more from you all than anything else. The judgmental side, you know, that word I want us to I want to disaggregate it a little bit, and also talk about how the devil can exacerbate it so that we don't stay in a place where we can get help. I remember you used to tell me that. I know, well, Nair, you never told me that. I don't think you ever told me. Someone else said it, but I don't think it ever came from you. But I've heard other people say that they heard, it's almost like they heard the audience saying, well, why they up there? Why they doing that? No, it might have been you. I don't know. But when you said it, it kind of just brought all that back to me. And I'll say that the devil knows exactly what to say to make one uncomfortable, that they not be in a place to receive all that they need to receive from God. He knows exactly what to say. He knows even when we feel in ourselves unworthy, how to have somebody look at us at that moment. And they may not be paying us any attention at all, but he had us look that way right when they were looking. And we thought, look at them, look how they're looking at me. You see how they look, they don't, and all those thoughts start flowing through you, because he never wants you to reconnect or connect to God or to church. And so we have to make sure that we separate self-righteousness from the devil attempting to utilize something that looks like that just to kind of run people away. I'm trying to say it, you understand what I'm saying, right? So at some point, some degree, there is a lot of there can be some self-righteousness there, but then there's also that part where the spirit of the enemy is doing everything he can to keep enmity between that generation and a true connection to God. So make sure those two are separate. I remember the third thing now, and that is we can just stay home and watch church on the phone. And you're absolutely right. All of y'all are absolutely right there. There's just one element that you can't get on the phone that happens when we gather together. And literally the Bible says it, to neglect not the assembly of one another. And so it's hard to say I can get all that I need from God, when in his word he said not to neglect gathering. So then if I'm getting all that I need from God from a phone, and then that touch never happens, then I'm not getting all I need, because there's something that I get through the touch that I can't get through the phone. Yes, you can get the information, but maybe not always a full bounty impartation. It's almost like artificial insemination, that it's harder to become pregnant with artificial insemination than it is with the natural way to get pregnant. And I mean, y'all adults now, so I can say sex, but I still look at y'all like babies. And bless your heart, when y'all come with your little bellies, I'm thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, Lord, help. Don't just, Jesus, help me. No, but I mean, y'all, you're my babies. I can't help it. Okay. I can't help it. Pray for me. But so in the natural sense, it's easier to get pregnant than in a unnatural sense. Now you can, it's just harder. That's what I'm saying. And so, yes, I can, but it's harder for me to do it if I'm just watching it on my device, juxtaposed to being in the midst with all the saints. There is a different flow when you're in the room, juxtaposed to when you are not in the room. It's just different. Again, it's not impossible. It's just harder. So you have to find a building, a ministry, physical, that you can go to and receive. And I think there are even internet campuses that for every once in a while there's a physical meeting with that particular group of people, because you cannot manufacture the human touch. You just can't. You cannot put in a technical box the human. There's nothing that can usurp the power that comes when I touch you with my hands or you touch me with yours. You can't replicate that. It can't be replicated. And when there's that passing of mantles, when there's that passing of anointing, when there's that passing of love, like I really can't feel all of your love looking at your faces on the screen. I know you love me, and I mean I can look in your eyes and see that, but I can't feel it until we're together and you touch me. See, your body releases something, and my body releases something, a chemical that connects to the emotion side of me to give me that assurance that I'm loved. That's why they say touch people, because if you touch them, I feel it more than you just saying it. Think about it. If your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whatever, if they or your wife, if they just keep saying I love you, but they never touch you, something's missing. I hear you say you love me, but touch me. Amen. Yeah. I love you, but at least touch me. So you can't get rid of that. Okay, I'm off that soapbox. But I thought that was great dialogue. That was great dialogue. But I want to be clear with that for all the millennials. Don't give up the touch. You got to have the touch. Now find you a touch that may not be as boring to you, but I will say this too, that everything won't be like super exciting. Like lasers ain't gonna be shooting out every single time. I mean, it's just not. You're not gonna have people coming up from up under the stage and flying thing. It's just not. That there's some things that's just discipline that you just got to sit there and get it. School is boring, but I sit there. And the teacher don't try to make it more exciting. It is, if you want it, come get it. If you don't, oh well. I'm not saying that's how church should be, but I'm just saying there's some things that won't be excitable. There's some stuff that you just got to sit there and discipline yourself to get it. Impatience possess you your soul, right? Impatience, and it teaches you patience. All right, now here's the last thing I want to talk about. Judgment. Don't be judging me, kind of thing, right? Don't be judging me. I want to kind of touch that because again, all of y'all said it, and so that it has to be an issue with this generation. What can be done to help remove that piece about judgment? What can we say? What can we do? Or better stated, what have you experienced that makes you feel judged in the self-righteous way? We understand that there's supposed to be judgment, but I'm talking about judgment in a self-righteous way. How does that look and feel? And then how can we eliminate it?
Okay, so I think I want to start with the question. And it may be so plain, but I just want to make sure that I'm clear. When you say self-righteous, do you mean like in the sense of like how you judge you, or how you take, the fact that that you've done wrong, and the fact that, as you said, there is going to be judgment, and how you deal with it?
Yeah, self-righteousness is kind of what you were saying earlier, how people look down at you and say, how in the world could you, and those kind of things. That's being self-righteous. Like the nerve of you, and how could you fall, and how did you have that? That's self-righteous.
Okay. Well, okay, so just like not going into detail, but just knowing like the things that I've done and the things that I've dealt with and the choices made by self, I can honestly say, and I think it's cool too. Let me just kind of insert, because I kind of touched on it before. I don't want to seem like I'm rambling or derailing, but okay, so just kind of based off of the things that I've done and dealt with, my initial doing, in my mind at one point, I had to find a reason of justification, whether it was consciously or unsubconsciously. Like a part of me after judgment hit, or let me pause, going back a step. After it was done, I knew, okay, this is wrong. Before any, physical, any evidence was there, I knew. Um, it was the self-inflicted judgment, I think, for me, that grasped my conscious, that my conscious was like really, really heightened. And it was like, okay, it was like I was more self, pointing at self. I'm hoping that I'm not sounding like a robot because I'm trying to get my words together. But it was like I judged self first. Once I judged self and I was able to speak about it, and then attached was physical evidence, it was like, okay, before I allowed, or before I was able to allow myself to truly forgive me, judgment came from other people. And on top of me not healing within myself, the exterior comments, the exterior looks, the exterior words made me feel as though I had to find a place and a reason to justify my actions, even after I already told myself, now this isn't okay. That was wrong. And it was like I felt so like kind of dogpiled by so much that it kind of made me feel like I had to protect that little piece of innocence in me that was crying, like, I just want some help, somebody, help me. And it was almost in the immature part of it, just being really transparent. It was like at one point it was like, I want somebody to be like, okay, well, I understand why you did it. But in actuality, right is right and wrong is wrong. And I feel as though, and I may not be on track right now, but hopefully I'll get back there. But as I was saying, it was just kind of like right is right and wrong is wrong. And for me, I had to realize, okay, in taking responsibility for what you've done, taking responsibility for what you've said, what you've done, you don't have to be arrogant. Because it's so easy to, okay, God forgave me, so what you say don't matter, instead of, okay, God forgave me, so whatever you feel like you need to say, that's fine. But I didn't take it in the light way. I took it in the way of defense, and that defense became that defense became prideful in a sense. And it was like, I love you too. That defense became prideful in a sense, and it was like basically, like I said, I had to protect me, or so I felt. And then at that moment, me protecting me turned into well, and oh God, okay, the immature part was me having to protect me. The mature part was realizing, okay, if you protecting you, then you don't need God to protect you. So at that point, for me, it opened up another avenue of complacent cycle. And instead of taking the growth from it and taking the judgment, so to speak, and using it as fuel to get out of it, I used it to keep doing or repeating the thing that I was already out of. And it was kind of like my judgment for self didn't allow me to completely forgive self. Self-forgiveness was the hardest part. And on top of that, knowing that I didn't forgive me, and knowing that I didn't heal for me, and I wasn't in a place emotionally, mentally, even spiritually at that point, because as you kind of stated earlier, that knowing that you did wrong kind of makes you feel like, and like, dang, I'm not worthy enough to even come back. Like, I'm not, like, how can I do that? Like, how can I come back? And it was like, you already feel that. You already know that. You already have that baggage. And on top of that baggage, you know, and I'm one to say this all the time, and you said it too, and I just kind of use it, but you know, we kind of get people sticks to crack our heads with. And they steady cracking your head, not realize that all your yolk done fell out. So you don't really have nothing else to hold on to. And the little bit that you got to hold on to is kind of slipping through your fingers, and they just kind of draining it. So I think ultimately, you know, taking responsibility for things is a big thing. But in taking responsibility, like it's the line that I'm trying to figure out how to explain. Like, it's a thin line between taking responsibility and being strong and fortified in God, and being not the word arrogant, but being strengthened in Him. And then that can easily be mistaken as arrogance and pride. And
Yeah,
you don't want that, because then it becomes unhealthy in a sense.
I hear you. And
So
I'm gonna speak to that too. I think that's you actually took us in another direction, which is good. So I'm gonna circle back to
mhm,
that part, because that was when I listen to people, I make stories in my head. I'm very
mhm,
visual, so I create these little stories, and so I'm watching your movie as you're telling it, and plus I was there
yeah.
for the whole movie, so it just brought all that back. And so you're saying that uh, you had self judgment, which was already hard, and
Mhm,
then you felt the outward judgment from people's eyes, or maybe just the stuff that they said,
mhm,
and that made it very, very difficult for you uh, to come back to God, quote unquote,
yeah.
because of that. So then, if they would not have had you as a conversation piece, then you think you would have probably made it back easier.
I think so. Reason being is because, like, I'm a person that, and I give shouts out to Minister Barbara McLeod for this, because me and her had a conversation one time. I live words. Like, when you say something to me, like, some people can just let it roll off their shoulders, and it's so easy to say. Like, you said it to me, just do it, just come back, you know, just do it, you know. And it's so much strength behind it. But words for me are like limbs, and I'm still trying to figure out how not to let them attack when they're not needed. So to hear positivity and to hear, I'm even okay with, you know, that was wrong, right? Sis? Like, Delana, me and her have had a conversation like this, you know, type thing, you know, and I can take that, because even you and First Lady, her and I have had conversation, my parents, you know, and I don't want anyone to be biased to me. Um, if you're gonna be, for lack of better words, judgmental or critiquing, I'm okay with that. But it's kind of a way that you do it. And it was said the other day, Lord.
It's whether it's done in the right spirit. It's how
Yeah,
you can say whatever you want to say, just say it in the right spirit.
right.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Pinkies, y'all hop in.
Um, so you're talking about the question that you asked, right, about judgment. Have we ever felt judgment in church, and what can we do to try to correct it?
Well, yeah, not necessarily you experiencing it, but what does it look like, and then how can we eliminate it?
Um, so yeah, I mean, I can definitely like agree with some of the things that Naya was saying. I've experienced it personally, and I think it's harsher when you grow up in church and then you fall, because it's like, you know better. I do, but you know what I'm saying? So it's like at some point you do, but I still fail. Can you help me get back up without all of the um judgment? I mean, and like Nail was saying, like, Christians, you're supposed to judge, but and like how the theme was, I think it's a way that you say whatever you need to say. Because as someone let's take my story out. If it was a random person that like I've talked to individuals that are doing things that they know they shouldn't do. And one reason may be like, why are you not gonna go to church? You know, like church is where you go to get help. But I think the pressure to, I don't want to let God down, or I already know that I'm doing wrong and I don't want to disappoint him. If I do say yes, then like I feel like it's wrong to say that I'm going to be a Christian, or I'm going to be saved, or I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go back out and do what I know that I'm not fully delivered from. So I think the pressure of dealing with it yourself, the pressure of like your own self-judgment, and then knowing that you're going to walk into a place where you're feeling that same judgment again. I just think we have to consistently remind people. I mean, people are going to be people. People are going to talk no matter what you do. If you're doing good, they're going to talk. If you're doing bad, they're going to talk. But I think as individuals, people, we have to learn to silence the noise. But I think it also helps if within, we have to work on the culture of the ministry and the culture of the leadership team, and the culture of everyone involved in the church, so that we're all in the place of, I don't care what you done. Like, I'm here to love on you. I'm here to help. I don't care what you smell like. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're here to help you back to health. We're here to nurse you until you fully ready. I think we have to let that become our focus, and then it'll help that individual to like not be so self-righteous, and to help to focus on God, so that they can help with that, and get them to a space to where it's not so much about the people that's within church. It's not so much about the things that you've done, but God really understands where you are and what you're doing, and he still wants you. I think creating that culture within ministries will help with the individual judgment and the judgment that comes along with ministry.
I'm sorry, I missed most of the question, but I just kind of piggy off in what Delaney was saying. I wonder who would join a group named transgressors. Like what people would join that group, and what people could identify with them, with those that have transgressed, with those that have sinned, those that have fallen short, with those that haven't crossed every T and dotted every I. I wonder who would join that group. Because in the church, sometimes in the church world, we as Christians, though we know we judge righteously, that's number one. We don't do it. We don't do it as harsh as we do. We shouldn't do it as harsh as we do. But I feel like, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I've even been in the place of judgment. And in my judgment, I wouldn't necessarily say words. Mine would be, well, I don't know if you can call it judgment. It's just some people might have received it as judgment. But I try my best to live a life that's exemplifying what it means to be a Christian, and what it means to be a young man and male, and this and the third. And when I did fail, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect now. I'm just saying that when it was a noticeable fall, we all have falls. We all might curse in our minds, or we might say something, harsh to our spouse and to my wife, or, we all fall in certain ways. But when it was a noticeable fall, I felt so convicted. Like, a conviction that's beyond normal convictions. I'm talking about terrible. I'm terrible. Like, I feel God, the world. I just did the most darnest thing. Terrible. Because I knew what I had the potential to do. I knew the walk. that I had to protect. You know, I knew the life I know I was supposed to be living, and it caused me to kind of look back at certain situations, because my thing wasn't judging people. I didn't necessarily, like, I wouldn't judge people, but I think how I kind of like, I didn't necessarily judge people. I see what Mom just said. I didn't necessarily like kind of judge people like personally. I never did that. I think that's, I hate that, and I think that might be a part of me growing up in the millennial generation. So I never judge anyone like personally, but my self-righteousness came in like, you know, well, look at me. If I can be saved of the Lord, so can you. If he can heal me and he can save me from certain proclivities and stuff that you know, some of the same stuff that some people are going through, if you can do that for me, he can surely do it for you. So it wasn't necessarily like a judgment. So I take back what I said. I wasn't judging, but it was self-righteous and my stance, and it was in pride. And I think like what we,
Well, I wouldn't even say pride, son. I mean, I think that's how, well, the scripture says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so your testimony of see where he brought me from, and he can bring you from that same way, is a byway for people to utilize to come forth. Now, if they feel judged by it,
yeah,
is more or less because their own inner issues based upon them not matching the mirror that they're looking at. And so that's not something that you've done. That's self-imposed upon them simply because they see, well, I mean, he grew up with me, and if he did it, then what's wrong with me? And so now I'm making judgments about myself because you and I grew up together, and you made it out, and I'm still in that stuck place. So your testimony, I don't see that as it being self-righteous at all. I think that's really the plate that people need to see, because it gives you a touch of human with your super. But go ahead. I just didn't want you to apologize for your testimony, because you need that.
Oh yeah, that's that. I'm glad you kind of said that, because that's something that we kind of like. We never take in consideration of being judged. Like we always say that Christians judge, but we never take in consideration that sometimes we project judgment onto Christians, and that's how I kind of felt when you know, kind of like growing up in it. Like, because I knew what I was doing was right to do, but I would hear things like, "Oh, you just trying to be like another bishop." Or you just want to, oh, you supposed to be this prophet. You're this preacher. You're this, you know, this, that, and the third. And it wasn't that I was just trying to do that. It's just who I am. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes, and that's just, I think this is something that a lot of us millennials take into consideration. Sometimes it's not that people are being judgmental. Sometimes it's your own projection of what you feel like you lack or what you feel like you could do better. And if you see someone else doing that better or doing it in a way that you feel like you should be doing it, it comes off as, or you know, they're arrogant when you're immature. But when you're mature, you're like, you know what? I might need to start hearkening into this person. I might need to start getting closer and connected to this person. So I mean, like, you know, it can be both ways. I know we kind of looking at it one-sided, but just kind of looking at it holistically. We have an obligation to kind of sometimes be objective in our thoughts, because when you feel like somebody is being judgmental towards you, you become kind of subjective to your own personal proclivities, your own personal ideas and concepts, and you never take into consideration that I may just be messed up. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, I don't know. And I guess that's probably why I always felt like, well, maybe that was just me. Now, part of it was I could have, you know, did a better job at maybe kind of assisting and helping others to get into a place where I felt like God had me in. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand it both ways, but to bring it all in, I think there has to be a great level of, I wouldn't say necessarily transparency, because I don't think people need to be completely transparent with everything that happens in their life. Vulnerability, though, there has to be a great level of vulnerability and a door that opens up to where people can feel how you're relevant and relatable. You know, I can say that I had struggles in marriage, but I ain't got to tell you what my struggles were. You get what I'm saying? So I can be transparent by telling you this, but I ain't got to necessarily tell you the details of what has happened or what I have done or what I've you know what I'm saying? Because I just feel like we kind of, that's all we got to do in the body of Christ is continue to be, you know, relevant. You remember that we're trying to build the kingdom. We're trying to build people, and we're not trying to break them down. And I think that's what we need, you know, overall. It's just, we got to remember the love of Christ. If people really had the love of Jesus, church would be if people really had the love of Jesus, church would be packed every Sunday. Wouldn't worry about so much about your clothes, because we'll change your whole mindset will be changed. You'll want to come to church dressed appropriately. I ain't even got to address that when I can love you the right way and I can love you like Christ. I'll have to address it because you'll feel that. You know what I mean? And I just, like I said, I just feel like we just got a lot of, you know, opening up vulnerability. We have to be vulnerable. Delaney taught on that really good Sunday. We kind of have to be vulnerable to the people that are coming in that are wounded. Let's be open. We always say hurt people, but I said it before that you know, heal people don't help people because they don't want people in their space, and they don't allow certain individuals in their space. Because they're afraid to be vulnerable again in that place. And I think it's a major connection that happens when somebody that's been healed before can begin to help that person that's beaten, help that person that's hurting right there, and that feels judged. And you can let them know, hey, I don't have to tell you the whole story, but I've been there before, and this is what I did. Blah 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 blah. I can help you through that through my vulnerability. But I'm done.
I love it, man. I absolutely love you all are some brilliant people. I glean and I learn every Monday night from you 3 and 4 or 5, how many ever we have when you all come on. I learn and glean. And so I appreciate you all's openness, and I appreciate your brilliance. That just, it does my heart good. Now our special guest just got here, like right when we get ready to close. Like we done. we get ready to do that, our last little testimonial piece, and he just hopping on. So I'm just bringing him to the front, man. So here's what we're gonna do next week. You and your wife, y'all two will be our special guests. Y'all just got to get there on time. Hello. He can't hear me. You can't. That's what happens when you come late, right? Can you hear me now? He can't hear me. All right. So I'll make sure that I tell him. I'll make sure that I tell him later that they'll be special guests for us next week. Here's what I want you to do. I watch Jasmine. I think Jasmine's watching. Don't do big. I ain't trying to do him. I just, listen. He's supposed to be on at 9. It's 10. We done. we like finished, and he can't hear it all. No, you late, Rev. Let me see if we can get him in this time. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? See? All right. So next week, go get your brother. How about go get your brother? I need you to go get your brother. You hear me? Go get him. Get him now. So we'll bring him in on next week. Here's what I want to do. Let me let him know that so that he knows what we're gonna happen. What we're gonna do. Next week, I want to kind of talk about. I think Nia actually mentioned it at one point in the green room, parenting and millennials, like how you guys handling being parents. You know, you were once the kid, now you got some. And how's that working for you? Because you're starting to feel what your parents used to feel when they would tell you certain things. So we'll talk a little bit from that realm next week, and we're also going to talk about that video that I sent you in your inbox. I want y'all to watch it. I want y'all to watch it. I put it in your inbox of the young lady. I forget her name, but I want you to watch it, and then we're going to talk about her comments as it relates to George, Brother George, who died, the African American lady who had an issue with Brother George and being made a superhero, is how she said. Just listen to it, and we'll talk about that. As we do every week, I give you an opportunity to kind of speak a word, minister to your generation. Take a minute, and it could be something that we talked about on this discussion, or it could be something that we've talked about in previous discussions, or just something that's just that's it. Candace Owens, that's her name. It could be something that's just straight within you right now that you like to share with someone that you feel the Lord is kind of telling you to do. I will say though, I want to let those who watch this live or replay. We talked a good bit at the back end about judgment and being judged. I think one of the things you want to always keep at the forefront of your heart and mind is the hardest judgment. You may feel like the hardest one is when other people judge you. And that does hurt. It definitely does. But the one that's the most painful and is more the silent killer is when you're judging yourself so harshly. The hit from the other people, you feel that immediately. But when you judge yourself to such a degree that you won't even lift your head back up, it's a silent killer. And it drains the very life out of you. So if you've asked God to forgive you and you've connected yourself with a man or woman of God, you're in your ministry and you began a restoration process. I think that's so important to begin a restoration process. Then all you need to do then is dust yourself off and stand back up, because many have already fallen where you fell. They may not tell you, but many have already fallen and many will fall where you have fallen. And they've gotten up from there. And so if they got up and maybe some of them had help, I don't know, and you can receive the same kind of help. But if they got up with help or without, you can have that same opportunity. Dust yourself off. Hold your head up. Not in the sense that you got it like that. Keep a contrite heart. And as Chris said, be convicted in it. But with tears in your eyes, walk forward, cry, and do all of those things. But put that head up and walk forward. God forgives you. We forgive you. And you forgive yourself. Forget what they say on the outside. That's exactly where they are. The outside. They're not inside. And boats don't sink because of the water on the outside. Boats sink because of water on the inside. So if you don't let that water from the outside get inside, you'll never sink. But if you let them fill your boat with their water of hate, you're going down. So shake yourself, dust yourself off, and walk forward. God loves you, and we love you too. All right. So which one of you all want to go? All right, come on.
Hello, everybody, on this beautiful night. I just want to say, I just want to give encouragement really quickly, and just the fire and the zeal. I just want to really quick just say and pray that God gives you the strength and the courage to go forward with not just everyday life, but to do something new. Our bishop has been preaching on faith for the past, I want to say we're on like 5 or 6 Sundays, and it has been awesome. If you get an opportunity, if you have not already watched it, definitely watch it. And just literally like for self and for you, just if you have a business that you're thinking about starting, if you have a live that you think about doing, do it. Don't be so concerned, so to speak, with everyone else, even if they're doing the same thing. Like literally, God will bless it because it's you. And just know that the persons that will support you are going to support you. The ones who don't may not, and that's okay. But ultimately, understand that your fire and your foundation is God, and just go forward with it. And I pray that it flourishes. And good luck. And that's all I have to say.
I don't know why I always have to go first. I wasn't ready, but here we go. I am just I want to speak to someone who may be dealing with problematic pressures that you face. I just want you to remember that, you know, God knows that there's no one. God knows that no one is perfect, and so you don't have to live up to that level of perfection. You just got to strive to be, like I say this all the time, you got to strive to be like Jesus every day. Strive for the right things. And one of the things that we need to do, as Bishop was talking about earlier, was judgment. We need to not let, whenever you make a mistake, whenever you know that there's some things that you've done wrong, don't let that hold you back from getting God. Don't let that hold you back from the place where God is. Put your focus more on upbuilding you, and just don't let that negativity stop you from doing what you know you need to do. And just continue to work on being the best you, and the way to do that is through God. And so don't let anything stop that connection.
Yeah. So I really want to take a moment to look at you guys, because while we were talking, I can sense some of the viewers. I can sense your hurt, and I'm very emphatic. I'm just like my bishop, very emphatic. I felt some of you. I literally felt the pain of judgment illuminating off of some of you. And I just want to speak to that. I speak to every hurt soul right now, every hurt soul that is bleeding because of the words of a judgmental Christian. I speak to you, and the first thing I want to do is apologize for that wound. I take ownership of what was said to you. I apologize that it was said. I apologize that they made you feel as a castaway, that you felt like you did not belong. I apologize to you, because you deserve every opportunity you get to come to Christ. You deserve every opportunity you get to feel the love of Christ. There is nothing that you can do that will surprise our God. He is omnipotent, and he's also omniscient. He knows all. He's everywhere. He is not surprised by your infirmity. He's not surprised by your proclivities, by everything that you have not done right, every T that you have not crossed, every I that you did not dot. I apologize for the Christian that spoke out against you and then said it to their naysayers. I apologize for the rumors that have been brought up against you. And I pray in the name of Jesus, of Christ of Nazareth, that after today, that you'll walk freely from the wound that has been, yes, sir, from the judgmental hand that has been given unto you. Yes, Yes, from the judgmental hand that has been given unto you, that giving you that wound that made you feel like you were unworthy. If that be the case, we are all unworthy because all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But I believe that God has put you on this live for a specific reason. And it's for me to speak to that wound, that you shall no longer allow that wound to be a crutch, that you shall no longer allow that wound, that wound to cause you to not have a relationship with God. The Lord said to come back to me. He said, I miss you. I want you. And yes, I'm sorry, y'all, but he says, I miss you and I want you. And there is nothing that you can do that would ever stop me from loving you. There is no place that you can ever go that can ever stop me from loving you. You are mine. I created you for my purpose. I created you for my promise. I created you for my divine will, and you belong to me. You belong to me. Wherever you are, I need you to posture amongst this presence, amongst this healing virtue. I feel the Lord giving some of you. He's healing that. He's healing your mind. He's healing you emotionally. He's healing you physically. He's healing you. The Lord said that I want you. There is nothing that you, yes, sir, there is nothing that you can do that would ever surprise me. And the Lord said that out of this wound shall begin to grow a womb that even in, yes, sir, even in this painful place, that it shall not be a vain, that it shall, yes, sir, that it shall not be a vain. The Lord said, I'm turning what one would call a wound into a womb, that you shall begin to birth something major out of this, that 2020 shall begin to, yes, sir, not only just give you clear vision, but the Lord said, I'm clearing the clutter that has been stopping everything that you decided to give birth to. The Lord said, I'm giving you everything that you desire because you have been held up in your womb. You are not bearing. But the Lord said, I've been waiting for a time as this. And many of you thought that you were Hannah and you were not bearing. The Lord said, you're not bearing, but the Lord said that it is of a time and of a season that I have called you to go into this womb place. It is not a wound, but the Lord said it is a womb. Saith the Lord of hosts, I give you glory and I give you, I'm sorry, y'all, I give you glory. I give you glory and I give you honor. The Lord said that you shall begin to birth something that people, that those that might have talked and those that might have put their name, their mouth on your name, the Lord said, I'm going to birth something so beautiful that they'll have to come back and they'll have to apologize. They'll have to say, I'm sorry. I judged you way too early. I didn't see that coming. The Lord said, I'm giving you something to birth out of this. My bishop says it all the time, that you should make your pain pay. I sense it in the Holy Ghost. I speak it in the name of Jesus. It shall happen. It will happen. I decree it. I declare it that it's going to happen, and it'll happen suddenly in the name of Jesus Christ. I love y'all. God give y'all grace and peace on the rest of the night, and I bless you for watching this live.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. That's usually why he goes last, because he's the preacher. He's the pastor. I just work here, but that's the pastor down there now. That's Pastor Chris. I just work here. I absolutely love it. I love his thrust, and I felt the same thing he felt. So I'm glad that he took a moment and spoke to that hurt. Your wound, WOUND, will become a womb, WOMB. You'll birth something out of that. Your pain will pay. And I can testify that these three faces that I'm looking at has made their pain pay. And to that, I'm proud and glad to have seen them do it. I love y'all, and I appreciate y'all. And I can't wait the next week for us to get into a few more discussions. Till then, those of you who are watching, this is Millennial Ministry and Mess. Next Monday at 9 p.m., we'll be back on the horn. We'll have a special guest, the fellow that we tried to bring on the screen earlier, and he had, I don't know, bless his heart. He has such bless his heart. But we'll have he and his wife on next week as a special guest. So there'll be an addition to who we already bring on every Monday. Tomorrow is Tuesday at 12 noon. I have my college, COVID, and Christianity. These college kids are crazy. I mean, they're crazy, man. Y'all gotta tune in. They keep me thinking. They keep me rolling. And then at 6:30, it's our Bible study. I'm going back into that Got Faith message. Sunday was incredible. You don't want to miss the next piece. I never finished Sunday. I got caught up. I'll do better on Tuesday night. We'll try to get all the way through it. So join us on the Sword of Truth page at 6:30 tomorrow. So 12 is college, COVID, and Christianity, and 6:30 it's our Bible study. We call it TNT. We'll see you at one or both of those opportunities to share the great good news of Jesus Christ. God bless you. Until next week, you guys stay on in.